As I pray with people, I am often leading them through the task of forgiving other people as well as forgiving themselves. And I've been discovering that often wrapped up in the issue of forgiving themselves is an overwhelming feeling of shame. And shame can be defined as the need to keep something hidden or covered over because you can't dare be vulnerable in front of someone else in case they will see who you really are and reject you. And so often shame can come from things that we have done ourselves, where we are so embarrassed and overwhelmed with how could I have ever have done that feeling, that you just dare not confess it to anyone because for sure they won't like you. Or shame can be wrapped up in what other people have done to you because you obviously weren't a good enough person for them to respect you or to honor your individuality or your personhood. And so you must be a defective individual, and just what they had done to you is so shaming and so awful that you dare not tell anyone that. Or shame may be simply a pattern of behavior that your family taught you when you were a young child, and what would the neighbors think, or we mustn't let anyone else know what's going on, because obviously if you have to hide everything from other people from seeing it, then obviously what you're hiding is not good enough for anyone else to see. So there's all kinds of things that get wrapped up under the overall heading of shame. And the enemy just loves to keep you in that place of needing to keep things hidden and quiet because he operates in darkness. He loves the dark things. He loves to keep everything hidden because as soon as it comes into the light, as soon as your situation, your history, the stuff that you've been hiding comes into the light, where Jesus' love can begin to work on your wounding and your hurts, and where you can receive his grace and his mercy, then the enemy's power is taken, and there's no opportunity for him to keep you under his control. So what do you do about this mess? Like, what do you do with all of these facets of self-forgiveness and shame that are all intermingled? Well, first off, you need to figure out, do you struggle with these issues, and is there something that God wants you to deal with? And if that's the case, then perhaps you should ask God what the situation is, what the root is, and where do you need to begin to start with this, and have him tell you where you need to start to pray. Ask him what the situation was, or the event, or the person, and find out who God wants you to forgive. If there's unconfessed sin in your life, perhaps you actually need to ask his forgiveness for that, so that that sin can be brought into the light and receive his grace and mercy. But then when you get to the point where say, okay, I've confessed everything and I can see how this is affecting my life, then you need to ask God, is there someone else I need to forgive? And then also forgive yourself. Now, some people have trouble forgiving themselves because they think what I have done is just so awful and so embarrassing, and I just cannot bring that into the light, that they refuse to accept that what Jesus did for them is good enough for what the extent of their sin or their mistakes of their past. And you have to keep in mind that when you basically say that I have to continue to hide my sin or hide my shame or hide the things that are part of me that no one else would accept, instead of bringing it into the light, you're basically saying that Jesus' work on the cross of grace and forgiveness and love is not good enough for you, and you have to keep punishing yourself and preventing yourself from receiving true and complete forgiveness. So don't stop with holding on to your own stuff. You need to take the hook out of you by forgiving yourself, so that the enemy no longer has that ability to hold it up in your face and say, but you aren't good enough, you're worthless, and so on. So when you have done the hard work of forgiving yourself and receiving Jesus' love and forgiveness for your own stuff and your own sins and issues, then perhaps it's the opportunity or the time for you to actually ask God what your shame looks like. For some people, shame is like a covering that's over them, and it's almost like a garment that they wear, or a huge mask or something that is hiding them. For others, the shame is so deep inside of them that it's not on the outside, it's on the inside, and it's buried deep. So ask God where your shame is and what it looks like, and then ask Him for His grace to begin to help you get rid of that shame. And it may be merely taking off what's covering you, or maybe a sense of pulling up from within you in order to be able to present that shame to Him. Because the end goal of this is to not keep it to yourself, but to hand it over and to present it to Jesus. Say, Jesus, I don't want to walk in this shame. I don't want to carry this shame anymore. I've forgiven myself and I don't want to be in the dark anymore. I want to come into your light. So hand it over. And anytime we hand anything over to Jesus, Jesus is so loving and so kind. He longs to give you something in exchange. So ask Him, Jesus, I've given you all of this shame. What do you have for me in exchange? And just wait. Use the eyes of your heart, the imagination that God has given you, to see what He wants to give you, what kind of gift He wants to give you in exchange for your shame. And when you've done that, write in the box below your comments, your testimony of how Jesus has released you from your shame and what gifts He's blessed you with as a result. And if this is your first visit here, be sure to sign up for the weekly email newsletter so that you'll hear from us on a regular basis. And Grant will talk to you again next week. Bye.